Hey guys, we're back with the next episode of our Sryth Fantasy Text-Based RPG. Last time we were hanging around Tridmore. We did the adventure that was there. We did something else somewhere else. I don't know. But I was gonna check out these locations near Tridmore, I think. Yeah, I was gonna go down this list of things. So yeah, we did the adventures here and here. Now we're going to Megals Maya and seeing what's going on there. So thanks so much for hanging out and joining me. Let's just go. Alright, let's visit it. The infernal bog known as Megosmire stretches for nearly a mile both north and east from the patch of the firmer terrain on which you now stand. Sickly looking tufts of yellow and green, brown grass rise up at the edge of the pools of mud that infest this quagmire, and every so often the back of a rock or small rise of firmer ground just juts above its quivering, sometimes bubbling surface. In the middle of the bog, perhaps half a mile from here, sits a sizable island of rock and earth, covered with small patches of stunted trees. There is a claw-shaped standing stone. You step up to the claw-shaped standing stone and discover that the massive piece of rock is actually protruding out of the ground. The stone is near perfection. Near perfect curves and smooth surfaces make it difficult to believe that it is an entirely natural construct. From all angles, the stone looks like the talon of some gargantuan beast poking up through the earth. Engraved near the base of the stone, just inches above the ground, is a curious symbol. Yes, we've seen these before. Let's look around the perimeter. You check the entire perimeter of the ball carefully, making certain you're not never stray into its treacherous grips. On the far eastern edge of the quagmire, you come across a broad, moss-covered stone tablet at the edge of the bubbling, hissing pool. With a small bit of effort, you will able to clear away enough of the moss to read the inscription thereupon. A clever eye to spot the latch, a summoned flame to swell, an unseen hand to pry the gate, the dead to ring the bell. After pausing for a moment to reflect upon the strange verse, you continue around the edge of the bog until you at last arrive back to where you began. I guess I should have copied that, huh? Let's hit it. You realize that navigating your way safely through the treacherous bog won't be easy. One misstep could certainly land you in unforgiving clutches of the mire from which it's not likely you'll ever escape. I mean, we could save first. Because it's been a minute. Let's look after our horse. Still indifferent she is. Alright. I mean, we have to. We have to. Move tentatively across the perilous mire, cautiously testing each patch of ground beneath your feet before allowing your full weight to descend upon it. After a short while, and having made some headway, you stop to rest and survey your progress. Using the edge of the mire and the rock island as a guide, you estimate you've gone 20 yards from the edge of the bog and have 180 yards remaining before you reach the rock island. Continue. Yeah. 160. 140. 120. 100. 80. I mean, is it even possible to get under 100? 40? And at last you step into the firm ground of the rock island, thankful to survive the excursion into the treacherous mire. You're standing on the western side of the rocky island in the midst of the moorland bog known as Megosmire. Megosmire. Reaching the island was no simple feat, and you find yourself dreading the prospect of having to again traverse this perilous mire. The sizable island is mostly rock, with a few patches of stunted trees and many large boulders scattered about. Yes, let's explore. You set about exploring the northern portion of the sizable rock island and discover, much to your horror, that countless human bones are scattered among the stunted trees and borders that cover this part of the island. Okay, gross. While exploring the southern side of the rock island, you come across a curious engraving in broad flat stone. The engraving reads as follows: Death here dwells. Alright, eastern part. On the eastern side of the rocky island, you make a curious discovery. Stepping to the side of the steep cliff, quite close to the edge of the encroaching mire, is a massive iron door. Thick bands of blackened metal cross the door at odd angles, obscuring much of its weathered surface. The door appears to have no visible means by which to effect its opening. Even more curious than the iron door are two objects that flank it. Then to the left of the door, dangling from the rusty iron pole that has been driven into the rock, is a head-sized bell. To the right of the door, set into the small alcove in the cliff, is a burning stick. Despite the flame that's consuming it, the stick is not charred in the least. Alright, let's examine the door first. The massive iron door appears to have felt the effect of standing within the stone throes of the mire. Its surface is badly rusted, though you sense it's still strong. Represents a formidable barrier. You can see no means of attempting to open the door. Okay, let's look at the stick. You step forward to examine the flaming stick, but in the moment you come within arms reach the object, the flame suddenly grow in size and intensity, causing you promptly and wisely to back away. Alright, ring the bell. You strike the bell and are quite taken aback when it makes no sound, believing that perhaps you do not strike it forcefully enough. You strike it a second time, which once again no sound is produced. I mean, there's something else going on here. Okay, well, that was fun. I feel like I did everything to make something happen, but nothing happened. Wee wee wee. If I fail, I die. Is that what? That's what's up. All right, let's leave. Blackstone Tower. Let's take a look. See. Perched atop the imposing Bell Rock Tor, the crumbling spectre of the Blackstone Tower stands framed against the sky, its stark silhouette invoking memories of an age now forgotten. The tower's outer wall, now little more than scattered heaps of rubble, hints at the scope and grandeur of the structure when it long ago served as an outpost and library for the Grey Circle. Really, even now, centuries after its abandonment by the mages who magic built it, a foreboding sense of melancholy seems to emanate from the tower. A wooden sign has recently been tacked to the tree next to the path leading up to the ruins. A woman clad in a black cloth, breeches, and a red leather cuirass stand nearby gazing over the tower. Let's see what the sign says. The sign bears a painted message only somewhat legible declaring that Blackstone Tower is currently undergoing renovations and will soon be open to all adventurers. The message ends with an emblazoned mark of the tower's owner, the illustrious adventurer Garagox. What's the woman doing? The woman, her dark locks forming something of a wild mane that framed her face, turns and regards you with a cold glare. Almost at once, however, as if suddenly recognizing you, her demeanor softens and a frown transforms into a faint smile. Something about her is vaguely familiar. It's been quite some time, she says, a phone voice echoing oddly. The seams are unraveling, or so I discern. How else would I be able to come here from there? The scars have opened. Though, who can say how and why, and what, and does it matter? Memory stirs and the name now mirror surfaces amidst your thoughts, surrounded by images of a barren, crag-riddled landscape ablaze beneath the searing wrath of an orange sun. Boldly pronounced the name, eliciting a smile from the woman. She slowly nods, confirming the accuracy of recollection. What's there? Zarathmore. The realm of Zarathmore is a bleak world of colliding realities buried deep within the Neverness, on a perpetually spinning arm of quasi-reality known as Shadowfold. In here, amidst Zarathmor's vast, sun-poisoned expanse, the mighty Zarathustra Timebender maintains his internal and tyrannical reign. Zarathmore is a realm of contradicting realities and shocking implausibility. Time within Zarathmore, due to both its location within the Shadowfold and the powers of its omniscient despot, ebbs and flows in strange, unpredictable ways, often subverting natural law and defying reason. Most of the sentient denizens of Zarathmore are grouped into clans either by species or proximity, with some clans allying to form larger, more robust confederations. As is the case with nearly all realities that make up the Shadowfold, entering Zarathmore can only be accomplished via a dream conduit. Okay, what else you got for me? I don't believe we met yet. If we are to strictly adhere to time's true path, she says. But both you and I remember that which has not yet come to be. It's remarkable, in a way, but enough to comprehend. The strand upon which we stick our existences are separate, twisted together at only a single juncture we've yet to reach. We give a start when Mira's face suddenly undergoes a rapid transformation, adopting a more youthful appearance. Quickly, now my time here is fleeting. Have you acquired the void tome? You tell her that you do not possess the tome. Look of anguish briefly crosses her face. The void tome is certainly one of my better pieces, she says, shrugging. You should try to acquire it. It's quite remarkable, but That's not Terry on the pond. How about the owl in Blazing Ring? Has that found its way in your possession? I don't know, has it? Sounds familiar. I don't have it on me. Although you do not have it. Now Mira nods and tells you that the ring is something she had a hand in creating. You may try to seek it out. It's got powers beyond those of other enchanted ring. It's altogether magnificent. Although I suppose its abilities speak for themselves in every sense. I consider it my creation, though I did have just a bit of help with it. She'll walk. Okay, I'm not reading this. Alright, I'll read it. Despite having been born in Tisa and having lived most of his life within the kingdom boundaries, the eccentric but highly skilled mage known as Truewalk always refers to himself as Truewalk of Zerathmore. Once a high-ranking member of the Grey Circle, Truewalk was accused of insubordinate acts and cast out of the order. Following his banishment from the Brotherhood of Mages, he spent the remainder of his life largely in seclusion, dwelling in the ruins of an old watchtower in the northern edge of the Felrundan Range. It has long been spectacled during his self-imposed exile. Truewalk began embarking on excursions into the Nevernes through the use of, of a shadow path. But with this speculation about his ventures into the Nevernes, rumors that these journeys amassed Truewalk's a hoard of strangely magical items which he has kept hidden in a vault beneath his tower. Nearly 300 years ago, Truewalk disappeared without a trace, leaving many to wonder what has become of the eccentric adventuring mage. A little more than a year after his disappearance, adventurers exploring his ruined tower abode, discovering a strange and sinister clue. Scrawled in blood on the floor of the tower's lowest level was the crude likeness of a crab wearing a crown. Truewalk's trinkets, the name given to the myriad of strange items the eccentric mage hoarded over his lifetime, have begun to appear throughout the realms. Truewalk's insignia found on the various objects in his scattered places, the head of a dragon skewed by two crossed arrows. Got you. Suddenly, a look of fear clouds Nalmira's face as she promptly closes her eyes. The rift is closing, she says, her voice quavering as she begins to fade from view. I must now be wary more than ever before. There's something else. This tower is a place where. Here, perhaps I can. Nalmira opens her mouth as wide as if to shout something, but instead vanishes in a dazzling flash of white light. Square stone amulet. Your eyes are drawn to the spot on the ground upon which Nalmira stood, where a square stone amulet lies slightly pressed into the soft earth. As you pick up the amulet, the faint crackle of energy from somewhere in the direction of the tower reaches your ears. Both sides of the amulet bear an engraving that depicts three concentric squares. I feel like I've got one of these already. Square stone amulet. Oh, the small black gems, what I've been collecting. Interesting. You suddenly realize you're having difficulty remembering the name of the woman who vanished only a few moments ago. Seconds later, you can only vaguely picture her face. For little more than a minute, you no longer bring to mind the encounter at all, leaving you to wonder what is required the stone amulet you're so tightly clutching. Okay, interesting encounter indeed. Let's keep going to Silwisp. North and east of the city of Trinmore, upon a firm expanse of rocky terrain in the midst of the vast moorland, lies the village of Silverswisp. The small settlement enjoys a relatively high level of prosperity for its size, due entirely to several ore mines situated on its outskirts. A scattering of small but solidly constructed wood and stone dwellings make up the outer perimeter of the village, and several large buildings surrounding its central main square. In the square stand three wells and a large monument erected in honor of Shrithik. Is this a climbing monument? The moment in the monument, in the shape of an open, upturned hand, stands just over 12 feet tall. At the base of the towering stone creation is an inscription which reads, "Honesty over deception, humility over pride, faith against fear." Indeed. Oh, there's a tavern. Only a small handful of patrons are gathered in the hedge-long tavern. A well-fueled fire crackling in a large ornate fireplace against the east wall serves to remove much of the dampness from the moorland air. Its emanating warmth also chases away the gnawing, pervasive chill that characterizes the moor in general. The white-haired tavern keep and his elegantly attired wife greets you warmly as you enter and politely inquires whether or not you've brought news from afar. We can talk. The tavern keep, Jod Froston and his wife Illyri are thrilled when you're able to relate to them a bit of news that you've acquired during your recent travels through the realm. Several of the other patrons gather around and listen with great interest as you colourfully detail for them a litany of newsworthy items from all corners of the kingdom. Jod and Illyri Froston, thank you when you finish. It's good to hear that the world outside keeps on with itself. Last Jod, apart from the wagons that arrive here once a month, we sometimes forget there's a world outside the moor at all. Asked Jod about the wagons. Jod tells you that Silver's is a mining town and that a variety of non-precious but valuable ores are produced from three main mines located in the outskirts of the village. You learn that about once a month a caravan of wagons arrives to transport the ore to Tridmore. The caravan is heavily guarded, says Jod. The ore we extract is sold to the crown, and it's an entire regiment of soldiers that arrives to see its safe passage to the city. Okay, Jod tells you that the Tessian army captain by the name of Rexagor Mullark have been in charge of the oil's transport for nearly the last 3 years. I think we had tell of Captain Millark's troubles, said John, but I can tell you that I've never known a man to put a drink to his lips, leastwise not in our tavern. He will put down his fair share of pale ale, though. We can be blamed for that, especially in these parts. All right, Captain Rexagor. Rexagor Millark is Tissian's armored captain. Captain, whose name has become synonymous with horrendous incidents in the foothills of Ferulden Rain some years ago, when nearly the entire regiment of soldiers under command was ambushed and slaughtered by a large band of forest trolls. It is believed and reported, though never proven, that Millard was inebriated and fit to command in the hours leading up to the fateful ambush. It is also reported, but again never proven, that he stayed out of the combat, too drunk to wield his own sword, while his men were brutally torn down by their savage assailants. Prior to the incident, Captain Millard enjoyed a distinguished career in the Tissian army, where he led several successful campaigns against goblins and trolls in the wilds of the kingdom. Rumors concerning his incessant and excessive imbibing have never been adequately substantiated. Since the incident in the foothills now almost a decade ago, Captain Miller has been relegated to overseeing only minor tasks, many of which would seem beneath his station. He's currently in charge of overseeing the monthly transport of ore from the village of Silverwest to the city of Tridmore. Alright, he says he doesn't drink. Alright, buy the food. The food and drink laid before you the end of the long wooden table near the fire exceeds even your greatest expectation. As you set your hunger on a delectable sort of bread, cheese, and a few strips of cured meat, you casually converse with several of the locals who are eager to hear any news you have to relate from afar. You thank Judd and Illyri Froston for this fine meal before turning your hands and feet towards the roaring fire. More conversation? No. Alright, let's go. Winter! Let's hit the mercantile first. Europe's mercantile is surprisingly well stocked. In an odd array of items neatly lined the shelves of silverware's only shop, but the only ones worthy of even passing notice are the weapons and armor. Let's talk to him. Yurit, a thin man who seems almost perpetually almost perpetually quiver, smiles and asks you about the news from abroad. He listens intently as you relate to him some of the tidbits you picked up in your recent travels throughout the kingdom. I'm awaiting the caravan to roll in again, he tells you. Our Captain Milax promised me a couple of fancy swords from Tridmore. I suppose I'll display one of them and sell the other. Choir. Here it tells you that Silverwest is a mining town. And he's trusted that obviously, I can only. He's had his troubles, no doubt about that. Yep, I know about this already. I know about Captain's troubles. Alright, do you have anything to sell? Not really. If somebody need more money than that, leave. Alright, what's it? Late one afternoon. Okay. The frantic cries of several children greet your ears as you step out of the hedge-long tavern late in the afternoon and about to start across the village square. Taken aback with a group of 6 children rush up to you and begin hurriedly to explain what it is that excited them so. It's a gate, blurts out the tallest of the children, a fair-haired, freckled girl who struggles to catch her breath. I've never seen one, but I know it's a gate, a magical gate, right near the old mine. Having overheard the children, a young dour-faced man approaches and asks them to calmly explain what it is they believe they saw. His demeanor changes from dour to grave as a young girl explains in a further detail the swirling black vortex that she and the others saw appear in the morn near the abandoned mine not far from the village. The young man, whose countenance has resumed its apparently familiar dour expression tells the children to remain in the village. He then turns to you and quickly introduces himself as Trip Telney. You return the introduction. He tells you that he's a member of the village mining council and overseer of the militia. I'm afraid the members of our militia also found themselves toiling in the mines. Might I ask you to accompany me? That's what the children spoke of. I pray, of course, have bit of o- we have but overactive imaginations on our hands, but I'd feel better about it if all it all were I certain of that. He says. You nod and tell Trip that you'll be glad to go with him to the spot where the children claim to have seen the swirling black vortex. Trip smiles and meets you in a shoulder cross. Wait here, I'll just be a moment, he says, disappearing into the building on the far side of the square, and emerging less than a minute later with a swinging sword hanging from his belt. Trip rejoins you, and together you set off to see just what it is the children might have seen. At the base of the steep hillock near the blocked entrance of one of Silverwood's abandoned mines, the children's story is proven to be no mere fabrication. The swirling black portal, emitting a low, pulsing hum, stands just several feet from the large boulder that has been employed to seal off the mouth of the mine shaft. You instantly recognize the portal to be a shadow path, and it relate this grim bit of news to Trip. I don't believe in them, said Trip, seemingly unable to tear his eyes away from the swelling Neverall gate. Well, what are we to do? What do you know of these things? Let's investigate. You instruct Trip to remain here, and he allow you to investigate the shadow path. He's only too willing to consent to this, and looks on nervous as you cautiously make your way towards the swirling Neverall gate. You're within 10 paces of the shadow path when long piercing hiss sails out of the vortex. The black surface of the dimensional gate ripples slightly, and you suddenly realize that something is about to emerge from the portal. Face it. Having assumed a defensive stance, you're watching horrors of long, fleshless shank attached to a massive clawed foot extends over the inky portal. A long piercing hiss fills the air as a remainder of the towering being of bone emerges from the swelling gate. Maintaining your stance, you take several steps back, not daring to remove your eyes from the 12-foot iron helm, sword wielding skeleton now standing before the shadow path. The master comes. Is it Roomskin? Is he following me around? Oh my gosh. Hisses the skeletal being as it lowers its hollow gaze to meet your stare. Needle-like fangs protrude from the creature's upper and lower jaws, and in the recess of each eye socket rests a small orb of silver light. With startling speed, the skeletal being stops forward and raises its massive blade. It prepares to deliver you a brutal stroke. You valiantly engage the giant skeleton, hoping that you can stay clear of the deadly edge of its massive blade. Death to the heathen. The massive skeleton is now little more than a pile of bones at your feet. Suddenly, a large crackle of energy fills the air. You turn to find the shadow path is gone. You wait for several such moments, expecting the portal to reappear, but it does not. You share a few words with Trip and the return trek to the village, whether you step into the main square. He asks you to keep the matter of the shadow path between you for the time being. The children know. Children can't keep a secret. I will discuss this with the other members of the mining council, he tells you. I pray that this was some isolated incident, yet I cannot put my faith in such hope. I cannot thank you enough, Alison. Trip turns and heads off, and you cast your gaze upon the stone monument standing amidst the three wells as it begins to be spattered with a few drops of late afternoon rain. Alright, that's it. Alright, let's check out the bar lock. Oh, does it say anything? Town of Westmere. Hello. South and east of the city of Tridmore and the western shores of the Great Borough Loch sits the town of Westmere. There has been a small stir in Westmere ever since it is announced that the illustrious but reclusive adventurer of legend, Zemine, has reopened his famous battlegrounds in Iron Crown Isle. Zumrin himself recently appeared in town and purchased the Misty Lock, a rundown tavern in Westmere's bustling harbour front. It's rumoured that adventurers of merit can find swift transportation to Iron Crown Isle by paying attention to the Misty Lock. Let's go to the outfitters. The small shop wedged between the Misty Lock Tavern and the dilapidated Double Stone Inn appears to sell weapons and armour. Sunlight spills through the cracks of the roof and the broad pale beams stabbing through the dust-laden air. Suddenly, a tall, broad-shouldered man with lengthy dark hair, his flecked with grey, appears at the back room and strides across the shop to meet you in a shoulder cross. Though he looks slightly different than you remember, you've little trouble recognizing Tibberath, a man who you last saw in Hocklaw during the mission to rescue Greywell brothers from the Riddle Wood Cave. I hope you've been keeping away from skirmish ants, he said with a grin, though you sense even speaking the name of the wretched creatures makes him uneasy. Why do you like this little place we've set up? It's not much yet, but we're working at it. None of the months that have passed since your adventure in the Riddlewood Cave, I don't remember. Timarath has retired from adventuring and married Dullarel, the young mage and fellow adventurer who was at his side in the ill-fated attempt to rescue the missing brothers. Dullarel is off just now, he says. She's still very much an adventurer, not, just, not one to sit still for very long. I mind the shop as she returns from adventures with things we can sell. So far, we've done quite well for ourselves. Or maybe like to boast just a little. Tiberath holds up a finger as if suddenly mindful of something and slips into a room at the back of the shop. He returns only a few moments later and hands you a small leather pouch, its mouth cinched with a worn length of string. There's something I've been saving for you, as odd as that might sound, he says. I, that is we, both me and Dalarul, Dalural, okay. Oh, you a great deal of thanks for all that you did. I know you don't need our gratitude, and maybe you don't even want it, but you have it all the same. I think you'll find use for what's in there. You think Tiberath opened the pouch and removed from it small platinum charm carved in to resemble a bear's head. Platinum bear charm. Hope if that brings you luck, as it has long done for me. I know very little about it, mine, save for the sorcerer gave it to me, told me it bore several enchantments that will help protect me from danger. It is now yours, my friend. Hey, thanks. Tiberath smiles and slaps you on the shoulder, tells you that Dalarel, oh my gosh, Dolurel never believed that the charm was magical. I can think of several times when I'm certain that little piece was at work. The Dolurel wouldn't hear of it, but I'm certain its powers that aren't to be overlooked. No doubt it'll serve you well. And thank Tiberoth for the platinum charm, and he smiles and nods in response. You spend the next small while conversing with Tiberath on all manner of subjects, though the conversation always seems to return at your host's request to your recent adventures. I should be careful discussing such things, he says. I have no temptation to take up my former trade, but there's no reason to stoke the fire. When at last you bid Tiberath farewell, tells you to make sure you stop in whenever you're in the area. We'll be fixing up this place as best we can, and the Lurel would be most glad to see you. Neither one of us will ever forget what you did. Safe journeys, my friend. With that, you meet Tiberath and shoulder cross before making your way out of the shop. I think you can read about this a little bit, but I'm not going to Iron Crown Isle this episode. Despite the stir created by Zimmerman's recent announcement that he is reopening his famous battlegrounds and his appearance in Westman's subsequent purchase of the Tavern of the Misty Lark is all but deserted, sitting alone at the table against the back wall of a dilapidated common room is a young man studying several pieces of parchment unfurled before him. As you approach, he looks up and smiles. Are you seeking passage to the island? He asks. You're the first to come through these doors today. The young man introduces himself as Breer and tells you, and you learn that he's a mage in the service of Zumrin. Zumrin. You turn the introduction, he seems genuinely pleased to have made your acquaintance. He tells you that the portal, opened by Zimmerin himself in the tavern cellar, will take you straight to Iron Crown Isle. You can pass through the portal as often you like. It's certainly best braving the waters of the loch. You arrive in Iron Crown Isle right to the gates of Zimmer's battleground. Zumrin's accomplished swordsman and master of magical art of gating. It is a mastery of gating that serves to create many of the challenges to be found in his battleground. Zimrin dwells in a towering redstone keep that sits atop the highest of the hills that cover Iron Crown Isle. The keep has no formal name, and Zumrin himself refers to it only as the keep. Although the tall, broad-shouldered, grey-bearded adventurer in many years past his adventuring prime, he still possesses immense strength and would be a formidable opponent in any contest of arms. No, not yet. Alright, I'm gonna go to a save point. Where's that? Chinua, I guess. Or my castle. Let's save. It's still 61? Yep. Number 6 in archery. Weaponry slashing with number 9. Powers over 9. Overall with 29. Skills overall with 29. Gold with 73. I know, because I spent all my money. I still didn't figure out where to sell my higher value weapons. All right. Well, I'm gonna end the episode there. I'm gonna try to do a few more episodes tomorrow, probably to prepare for. I have to go out of town next weekend. I usually only record on the weekends, mostly Sunday. So hopefully I can do that, and we won't be behind the next week. Thanks so much for hanging out and joining me. Till next time, you know what I'm gonna say. Peace.